Hi, I don't think we've met. I am Eli, a small red elevator. I live and work in a 4-story building with one apartment on each floor, at a time and in a country where trust and cooperation among citizens is at an all-time low. Let me tell you my story. It's sad, yet instructive, and I'm sure you will relate to it, one way or another. I was originally designed to lift only 2 people at a time, but the building residents kept stuffing me with more people than I was made to carry, until the morning that I broke down. I couldn't take it anymore. The cause of my breakdown is a specific collective action problem known as the tragedy of commons. It occurs when several individuals exploit a shared but limited resource, in this case, me. And according to their own short-term interest, they eventually cause the depletion of the resource, even if doing so is not in everyone's long-term interest. Now let me tell you how the residents eventually managed to have me fixed. The 4 residents in my building, by the way, don't bother with their names, just call them residents 1, 2, 3, and 4, corresponding to the floor on which each lives, rarely talk to each other, except for the occasional good morning. So when they had to meet to discuss my case, sure enough, a conflict arose. The residents on the upper floors, residents 2, 3, and 4, all wanted me fixed, and fast, but resident 1 refused to pay to get me fixed. He claimed that he did not use me, and that if the others didn't want to climb several flights of stairs with their groceries anymore, well, they should pay for fixing me, and leave him out of it, because it was unfair to make him pay for fixing something he did not use. So, the 3 other residents went ahead and fixed me without the help of resident 1, and they split the repair expenses among themselves. Of course, another possible outcome could have been that I remained broken. This is what we call a suboptimal equilibrium. It means that although the residents would prefer to have a functioning elevator, they opt to carry their groceries up the stairs rather than get me fixed. Good thing that didn't happen. Now that I was up and running again, Resident 4 caught Resident 1 using me to go down to the lower level garage. He and the others didn't know it, but he sometimes also went up to the roof too. Resident 1 was literally taking a free ride. Free riding occurs when one participates in the consumption of a good or service, but not in its production. The 3 other residents were upset. They immediately decided to solve the problem of Resident 1 free riding by installing a lock that basically turned me to a private good, available only to those who paid for my repair. Resident 1 was not given a key. That was one way to solve the problem: prevent the free rider from using me. If you want my honest elevator opinion, they could have resorted to a couple of other less drastic ways to resolve this free rider problem. For example, informal sanctions, such as staring at Resident 1 or not talking to him anymore, could have been tried. Bundling is another way of resolving the free rider problem. Resident 1, just like the 3 others, was duly paying his share for the upkeep of the building's common areas. The 3 other residents could have devised a way by which all common area services, cleaning, lighting, mowing, and my maintenance and repair, were bundled in one single package. All these services expenses would then come and be paid for in a single bill from the same provider. This way, Resident 1 would be left with no other choice than to pay for my repair, unless of course he wanted to forego all the other services as well, which he used and really cared for. Still, keys were what the residents opted for. They drilled a hole and put in a lock to prevent Resident 1 from using me. However, one day, Resident 4 misplaced his key, so he suggested that a spare key be made and given to the guard for such emergencies. Little did the residents know that the guard was buddies with Resident 1, who managed to use the spare key whenever he wanted, in exchange for a regular tip, provided he told no one about this arrangement. The guard was engaging in what is called rent extraction. At the same time, the guard was creating information asymmetries between him and the other residents, who did not know that he was sharing the spare key with Resident 1. He had an interest in not disclosing this information because of the rents he was extracting out from Resident 1. Between you and me, Resident 1 would have been better off paying his share of my initial repair expense. I bet he didn't want to lose face by going back to the other residents and admitting he was wrong. Oh well, he brought this problem upon himself, and I am not going to feel sorry for him. One day, Resident 2 saw the guard give Resident 1 the spare key, and he confronted them. He threatened to have the guard fired, and to report Resident 1 to the others, and even to the building owner. Resident 1 was so worried and scared that he promised to pay his overdue share in fixing me, if Resident 2 did not tell on him. Resident 2 now had the leverage, the credibility, and the convening power to organize a small get-together where he was in a position to set the agenda. All the residents met, and a humbled Resident 1 dutifully paid his outstanding contribution to my repair. Agenda setting refers to strategically shaping discussions to attain a desired outcome. So that this situation does not repeat itself in the future, the other residents took advantage of this win to request that a contract be written, in which each building resident would be legally bound to repair me if I were ever to break again. Resident 1 agreed and signed the contract like all the others. This contract was a way for all to make a credible commitment to covering the cost of any future repairs. A credible commitment is an arrangement among individuals in which each one refrains from gainful behavior through adopting strong institutions, that is, established practice, recognized by all the relevant actors, that tie one's hands from breaking out of future commitments. It's a good solution to a collective action problem. Now that all is well, let me recap. The residents in my building faced a set of incentive problems which festered for several years and prevented them from solving the broader collective action problems they were facing, which in this case meant getting the elevator, me, fixed. Collective action problems occur when the incentives and motivations of individuals run counter to what is good for the group. We looked at these incentive problems one by one and found various ways in which they could be resolved. You could think of me, the elevator, as a metaphor for a common pool resource, with everyone in the building using me, yet I don't belong to anyone in particular, and I am exhaustible or breakable. Examples of other common pool resources include groundwater basins, lakes, irrigation systems, fisheries, forests, the environment, etc. You could think of the building residents as your stakeholders, with different preferences and incentives, and you should think of the incentive problems I've described as the problems various stakeholders face when trying to solve a problem of common interest, push for a reform, change a law, or agree on the location of a school or a bus stop. Now I need to go back to work and take the 4 residents, by now all good friends, for a ride to the terrace. I hope I don't break down again. Wish me luck, or you're on for another video.